Okay, so last up, I'm honored to welcome Yukari Kane up to talk about the Prison Journalism Project.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Yukari Kane, and I'm the CEO and editor-in-chief of Prison Journalism Project. And we work with incarcerated writers. We train them in the tools of journalism, and we publish their stories on our own and in collaboration with other journalists and newsrooms. Just to explain a little bit about more about what we do, the impact we're trying to make, and the difference we're trying to make, I wanted to show you a video. We like to put our writers first, and so. Thanks.
It's so hard to, especially in the media, to feel like anything that you've done individually has really, that changed policy, that changes. And that's the value, I think, of Broken Philly, is it's a network effect. And so we're not seeing reductions in violence. We're not seeing like the statistical things that are changing, but I do think narratives are changing. And I think that that's a very powerful part of what media can do.
If we want to produce news that people can use in their lives, like really use, then we have to be working together. We have to be doing a better job listening. We have to be doing a better job focusing on solutions, not just the problems themselves.
I mean, now, like, almost all of the major and minor media players are a part of Broken Philly. And so that, to me, is an incredible win.
Why don't you talk a little
Yeah,
more,
okay.
and then I'll run up there and get the right video.
Okay. So we got our start about 3 years ago. Me and my co-founder, Shaheen Pasha, are longtime journalists, and we also teach at universities. She's an assistant professor at Penn State, and I've taught at Medill and UC Berkeley. And we got our start right after the pandemic started, and everybody was talking about it as a historical moment. There were some scary reports coming out of prisons where we've both taught, and there were outbreaks, and we were just not getting stories about what was going on inside. And we thought, let's put up a publication on Medium and see what happens. And so, fast forward 3 years. We're a fully fledged training outfit and publication, prisonjournalismproject.org. We've published over 1,600 stories from, I think right now it's more than 600 writers across 190 prisons in 35 states.
We have your video ready.
Do we? Okay, perfect. Okay. And I'll let the video roll.
I think I'm a prime example of how decent folks can still end up in prison for a horrendous crime. I put myself in some bad situations, and the worst case scenario came true. I mean, prison is full of good people who deserve a second chance. I mean, I've always been vocal and outspoken, and seeing what I see through the lens of my incarceration, being a journalist just kind of rose to the surface. Being a journalist has really just changed my experience for prison life. It's given me sort of this obligation, this responsibility to everyone around me, and also to people outside. I just want more and more people to read my stuff and be impacted by it. I want their eyes and ears to get open to the truth about mass incarceration. Hopefully I can inspire conversations so that the people that can affect policy have a lot more things to consider when they make these arbitrary decisions that affect us.
Who was one of my first students at San Quentin State Prison. He's been working with me and us for about 5 years now, and right now he's working on a story with the New Yorker. So that's where, it really says everything about what we do, what we're trying to do, and where we're trying to go. And I was asked here to talk a little bit about our model, and just as one way to work with marginalized communities and people who don't get their voices heard very often. As I mentioned, we have a model that's a combination of training and then we work with them to publish the story. over the past year, we've really worked on one. I guess one of the things that is really important, we thought, in working with our writers inside is just making sure that we have all the policies and processes and protocols down to think about their emotional, legal and physical safety. And so we've spent the past year really honing that down. In terms of editing the stories, for example, we think of ourselves as editor coaches. We try to really go out of our way to explain why we do things. We take care with our language, being mindful that our writers are people who have a lot of trauma and have been rejected their entire lives. And so even little things like in memos where we say, we can't accept this story because, or in order for us to publish this, we need A, B, and C, we might change the wording and say, your story would really be more powerful if we can get this stuff. We stopped sending out rejection letters because, again, our writers are people who've been rejected their entire lives and they don't need another rejection from us, and we want them to keep working and training. In terms of our communications, we do most of our communications through postal and e-coms, prison communication systems that are private, that are electronic, and we have somebody who works that. We're very careful with the way we send in content, thinking about what state they are. We've done all the research looking into their legal rights in each state. Every state has a different set of laws. We share them on our website, by the way, how that we can communicate with them, and then being also sensitive to where they are geography-wise. And so we're much more careful with a writer in the South, for example, and we're even more careful if it's a woman in the South because there's usually one prison, and it would be much easier to find them. And so time runs out quickly. There's much more to say about this. I am going to be on an INN panel talking more about duty of care. But I just wanted to, where we're trying to go with all of this is just to bring out stories that wouldn't be told otherwise, sometimes in surprising ways. Where we're trying to go with this is, ultimately, I think the power of this collaboration is not just our work with our writers, but also work with journalists and other newsrooms, combining inside reporting, outside reporting, sometimes just outside production of inside stories, and also being able to connect the dots between the stories that the writers are sending us. And so with that, I just wanted to give you an example of a story, a little bit unconventional that we did. This was triggered by a diorama that was sent to us by a writer. It's kind of miraculous that it found its way to us, but Sarah Rogers, who's a creative director at Longreads now, I think, she used to be at CNN.com, worked with us to create this video that we thought, I thought it was it's one of my favorite stories, and we've had formerly incarcerated people cry watching this, so I just wanted to share that.
My name is Jesse Milo, and this is House of Milo. The cell I'm in now is just like the one I made for you. I'd like to show you around. Let's start with the lid, the top of the cell. When the lid is on, and you look in the closed front door towards the back of the cell, you can see how the light beams through the back window and drapes across the table and bed. This actually happens. Outside every back window are bright stadium lights. If you're on the bottom bed and you lay with your head by the toilet, the light will shine right in your face. Next, we go into the cell. You'll see a towel that used to be a shower towel, but now I use it to clean the floor. Add some water and some shampoo, and you've got a mop. These are white shower shoes. We wear them to prevent falling in the shower and from getting fungus. On the floor by the toilet, it says, sit down to pee so it don't splash. Because when you pee standing up, droplets will bounce out of the toilet and land on the cell wall. Next to the toilet, it says, drop one, flush one. This includes passing gas to alleviate the smell. The cell is very small, and there's not really much air. On top, you'll see it says, brown is beautiful. As a boy, my grandma used to call me racial names. and it still impacts me. My picture is also posted there. Those of us who have been sent to die here look at photos of ourselves kind of as a way to prove we exist. It's like saying, ha, I told you I was real, or I'm still alive. Below my picture is a Hostess Zinger pastry I used to love. On the table are letters. If I get mail, this is where I respond to them. My fan is nearby too, to blow dry my boxers. Now let's go over to the bed. I sleep on the bottom. The mattresses are 3.5 inches thick, so they're not very comfortable. The metal bed frame is 30 inches wide. Lying down, you can't even stretch out both arms. Some guys on the top bunk tie themselves to it by their wrists so they don't fall off. Sleeping alone sucked in the first decade, but now I'm used to it. On the top bunk, I wrote vacancy because I haven't had a cellie during the pandemic. On the bed is also a copy of the newspaper, PJP Inside, with the top story an allusion to a dream. Milo, set free. I covered the top pillow in a COVID-19 mask to represent the times. It says human on the end of the bed in case people forget. Above the doorway is something about the American Kennel Club. If you get the formula and apply it to the average man's size, you will see that dogs get, on average, way more room for a cage than humans do. The last bit is the writing on the wall above the bed. And I share my journey with you as fuel for your own.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Thank you. Please find me if you're interested in working with us as a newsroom, as a journalist. We have so many stories. Most of them are print, but this was one that was just really special to us. Thank you so much.